Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for an update on the government's plan to connect every person in Ontario to primary care by 2029. My name is Carly Bergamini, and I am Director of Communications and Partnership Engagement with the Primary Care Action Team at the Ministry of Health. I will be the MC for today's session, and I'm delighted to be. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land many of us from the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health are gathering on today is a traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. I offer this acknowledgement to recognize, respect, and honor this territory, the treaties, the original occupants, their ancestors, and the historic connection they have with this land. We have a packed agenda ahead, with updates and reflections from leaders across the healthcare system. To begin, we are honored to open today with an opening from Elder Kevin Dear. Following that, we will be joined by the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, who will share an update on the government's plan to attach every person in Ontario to primary care. Following Minister Jones, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Jane Philpott, Chair of the Ontario Primary Care Action Team, who will share detail on the plan to create and expand primary care teams across the province. We will then hear from additional reflections and insights from Rhonda McMichael from the Ministry of Health and Dr. Sasha Bhatia from Ontario Health. Please note that this session will be recorded. You should have heard a ding at the beginning, and will be available later for viewing. With that, I am pleased to welcome Elder Kevin Dear to open our time together. Kanashohan Kevin Dear is from Kanawake Mohawk Territory. For the last 30 years, he has been involved in Mohawk language retention and revitalization. He is also a faith keeper at the Mohawk Trail Longhouse, which involves knowing sacred songs, dances, and rituals. He enjoys discussing and presenting the Iroquois worldviews, history, and philosophy. Elder Dear, welcome, and over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to start out with a ceremony song. I start out with that because all of us are alive because we got to eat every day. In my language, we call that Junhekwa, our life supporters. We refer to them sometimes as corn, beans, and squash. So what you just heard was that drum skin going up and down. That drum has water in it because from that water comes life, comes the trees, the wood, the animals. It is held together by a ring. When we come into this earth, we're given the sacred breath. You look at your heart is expanding and contracting, your heart muscles expanding and contracting. We're all participating in this sacred dance. And when you totally understand that, there's no more war, there's no more murders, there's no more racism, there's no more hatred, there's no more suicide, because we all understand that we are all sacred beings having this human experience. We are from spirit and we're going to return to spirit. So with that being said, we are all participating in this great dance called life, and every day is a celebration. Everything that we need for our happiness and our joy comes from this unconditional love from our Mother Earth, and all we're supposed to do every day is to have an attitude of gratitude, and for us it gets expressed through sacred ceremony, song, and dance. The next thing I'm going to do is talk about now what we do in our longhouse, and we call it the Thanksgiving Address, because we acknowledge all of this. And there's a depiction here of the Thanksgiving address by another faith keeper. His name is Oren Lyons. And essentially what we have is we have someone then that will speak on behalf of the people. We address this walking clay that is infused with spirit. So now our spirit can express itself. So we shouldn't wait till we're dead and we die and go back into the womb of our mother to understand that while we are alive, we are the eyes, the ears, the voice, and we should understand our relationship to clay, because when we pass on and we go back into the womb of our mother, we understand that we are all clay. Anyways, that being said, I'm just going to say a few words in my language. Tisegwa gwe ga idawis, gwe you go da garida, wados kana zinizia you go nutunyu. None of the shatore tau good in the jada di tuniut, Nadzi no hoda the one aduka yetini star hudza. Say you got come haja gwego no hodi you got to chada when is a ragged and a yatana jodukte. None of the satu gawre anagon hoda garunya gwego saguna tunizid the utajanioni, Tanugunek kari wanota ne jotku, Tayada wadanu waradu. Ona na nea gwego aska nea da wawit nuni tanu da tsida no waradu ne sawyera gosas to saragoa. Ona gi wagen hodungo, hoda the watarunyu one is a rade, ekadine na yotinanu niguna. So in that Thanksgiving address, we acknowledge all of us. We're here because of the Mother Earth, from her unconditional love. So we acknowledge all of that, from the waters, the fish, all of the plants, the strawberry, the corn, the beans, the squash, the deer, the moose, the caribou, everything on this lower world, the trees. And from there we look up, we acknowledge the four winds, our grandfather thunder beings, our elder brother sun, grandmother moon, the stars, the star knowledge, the star stories, the star people. Then we go to the ancestor realm. And then to that source of life for all life, the great mystery that we're all here and we're all participating in this sacred dance. And all we ask now is that as we are here and whatever we're going to discuss, that we be guided by the ultimate good mind thinking. Because when you have the ultimate good mind thinking, then you can follow those white roots of peace and sit under that great tree of peace. Now, where is that tree? It's right here. It's in the epitome of our being. You know, in our Mohawk language, our word for love is called Ganarun Kwatsara. If you take that word apart, Ganoru talks about something that is precious. Gwa kind of encompasses all of this. And then the linguists who study our language said, well, Tsera, it comes up every so often. It's a connector. Well, when you open your eyes every day, you look around and you see that the sacredness and the preciousness of this gift called life. And that all we're supposed to do, as I said, is to be grateful every day. So our word then, Ganoru. Do you see that even this is precious? I wish I knew that when I was a latter teenager and young adult, because I didn't look at this walking clay as being precious. I didn't treat it holy. You know, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol and carrying on and not treating my body as this holy vessel that it's supposed to be. Just in this one word. In my language, if everybody understood that, seeing the preciousness of this walking clay, there'd be none of these social ills of addictions and violence and all this different kind of stuff that we get it. We're all sacred. We're all participating in this sacred dance. And the only reason why we're here is to be happy. So anyway, these are some of the things that I talk about that, you know, that's just one little snippet. I'll just one last one. So when we ask ourselves, well, who am I? I'm an Ungwa. Let's take that word apart. Ungwa is a person. Unwe comes from the root word Jinawa, which is forever. So a forever being. But another way of putting it that puts it all together and makes sense is that we are truly spiritual beings having this human experience, because we come from that great mystery. Nobody knows exactly what it is, but we have all of these things that inform us, that help us to understand who we are, where do we come from, why are we here, and where are we going when we leave this place. We call that sun our elder brother. He sets the path every day, comes out of the earth. It's a birthday. We're all going to reach a midway point, and then we're all going to start to sit. I look in the mirror and I'm starting to sit in not too distant future. I'm going back into the womb of my mother. But tomorrow that sun rises up again, and I'm resurrecting up again after my death in spirit, and that's forever. And the only reason why I said we're here is to be loving, to show love, to demonstrate love, to be grateful, to be thankful. Because in our creation story, Sky Chief falls in love with a young girl. It's all about attraction, love, conception for the perpetual generation of life forever. We are love, we come from love, and we return to love. So with that, much love, happiness, peace, and joy to each and every one of you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share in your sacred space for this little time. Thank you very much. Nyaokoa, merci beaucoup.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Elder Dieter, for your thoughtful remarks and grounding us in reflection and respect for the land as we begin today's session. I am now very pleased to welcome the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health for Ontario, for her opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly, and thank you, Elder Camben, for starting us in such a positive way. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Premier Ford and our entire government, I want to thank all of you who have joined us for today's webinar. To Dr. Philpott and the Primary Care Action Team, a huge thanks for all your work to connect 2 million people in Ontario to publicly funded primary care by 2029. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government has been making record investments in healthcare to provide more people with the right care in the right place. This includes the steps we have taken to achieve the highest rates of connection to a regular healthcare provider in the country. Our government has launched the largest expansion of medical school seats in over a decade, adding 2 new medical schools, a new medical school seats in every Ontario medical school. We've taken actions to enhance digital tools and reduce administrative burdens to save primary care providers 95,000 hours annually that can now be spent caring for patients. We've launched innovative programs to train and quickly license clinicians like Learn and Stay and Practice Ready Ontario. And that together will add 1,500 new family doctors with full rosters to communities across Ontario over the next 3 years. And we've expanded interprofessional primary care teams, adding 78 new and expanded teams last year to connect 330,000 more people to primary care close to home. Through this initial expansion, we have seen primary care teams open across Ontario, with many exceeding their initial attachment goals. And I want to thank all of you for the role you have played in these milestones. To continue to build on the progress our government has made, and to close the gap for the remaining 10% of people not connected to a primary care provider, our government is investing $1.8 billion, the largest investment in primary care in Canada's history, to implement our Primary Care Action Plan to connect 2 million people in Ontario to primary care. Yesterday was an exciting day as our government announced the next step of our plan, launching a call for proposals to create and expand up to 80 new primary care teams that will connect 300,000 more people to primary care. This call for proposals is targeted to communities that have the highest number of people not connected to primary care, marking an important step to build a primary care system that offers every person in Ontario the opportunity to have a family doctor or primary care multidisciplinary team based on postal code, no matter where you live. This approach will also attach everyone on the Healthcare Connect waitlist to a primary care team over the next year. As part of our government's $235 million investment to create up to 80 new and expanded primary care teams, we are investing $22 million to support existing primary care teams to help you meet your increased operational costs. Our government will also continue to work with you to look at additional ways we can successfully support and retain your workforce. We expect to select and announce the successful new teams this summer and continue on progress on our goal to connect everyone in the province to a primary care provider by 2029. We are on track to launch another call for proposals this coming fall. The work of the Primary Care Action Team is another way our government is building on a healthcare system that is more connected and convenient, ensuring that no matter where you live, you will have access to primary care. Thank you again for your important contributions, and I look forward to our continued work together as we implement our government's Primary Care Action Plan. Stay well and enjoy today's webinar.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Minister Jones, for your leadership and continued commitment to building a healthcare system and primary care system where everyone is connected to the care they need. I am now very pleased to welcome Dr. Jane Philpott, Chair of Ontario's Primary Care Action Team, to share more detail about the government's plan to create and expand primary care teams across the province.
Thank you very much, Carly, and good morning to everyone. It's fabulous to see so many people here. I want to start by thanking Elder Kevin Deere for a beautiful opening and for reminding us of our responsibility to take care of the land, to take care of ourselves, and to take care of one another. And I want to particularly thank Minister Sylvia Jones for her incredible commitment to high quality primary care for everyone in Ontario. It's a pleasure to join all of you today in my role as the chair of Ontario's Primary Care Action Team. So most of you will know that last year, the Primary Care Action Team was given an historic mandate. The mandate to ensure that every person in Ontario has a connection, an ongoing connection to a family doctor or a primary care nurse practitioner working in our publicly funded system, and to reach that goal by 2029. Our vision is to build a primary care system that is province-wide, connected, convenient, digitally integrated, equitable, and responsive. We have a vision of a future for every person in Ontario, that there is a team with family doctors, nurse practitioners, and other healthcare clinicians who serve as the front door to the health system, who will work together to provide ongoing, timely, and comprehensive care. We know that interprofessional team-based primary care has the power to improve access and to improve health outcomes for people. And at the same time, it can enhance clinician well-being and satisfaction. So yesterday, we were very pleased to see the government's announcement of a significant step towards this goal by launching this first call for proposals. And in this call for proposals, we want to establish up to 80 new and expanded primary care teams. And the goal is to provide ongoing primary care to 300,000 additional people who do not currently have access to a family doctor or any other access to primary care. We're focused on creating and expanding one of the existing team-based models, and you're probably familiar with the models that have been in existence in Ontario. They include family health teams, community health centers, nurse practitioner-led clinics, and Indigenous primary healthcare organizations. We know that there was a previous expression of interest process that took place in 2023 and 24, and there was a huge amount of enthusiasm from the sector. So we are hoping that this time we can share more information about what the sector can expect in this round of funding for the year 25 and 26. And there are a few features that are particular that we want to show you and talk a little bit about today. First of all, we are designing and building a geographic model of primary care. This is the way that many countries who have done well in ensuring that 100% of the people in their jurisdiction have access to primary care have organized themselves. And so in this geographic model of primary care, every person in Ontario will have the opportunity to attach and to access a publicly funded primary care team close to where they live. As part of this, then, when we are asking for the call for proposals, we want the new and expanded teams that are approved through this funding to help us to work toward achieving the ongoing attachment of 100% of the people in their communities and organizing ourselves by postal code. In that way, hoping that those people will have ongoing attachment to a regular family physician or a physician group or a primary care nurse practitioner in primary care teams. This will include, as you heard from the minister, our commitment to attaching the people who have been on the Healthcare Connect waitlist, and we want to do that as part of our commitment to clear the waitlist over the next year for anyone who joined the Healthcare Connect waitlist as of the beginning of this year. I want to add on this point as well, because we heard a few questions, to say that, of course, as we do so and we introduce this approach, that over time, everyone will have the opportunity to access a team close to where they live. We know that patient choice will continue to be respected and that individuals will be able to choose where they access their care. The second feature that we wanted to highlight in our conversation today is that this is a phased multi-year approach. We know that everyone wants to get involved right away, but we want to reassure you that there will be multiple rounds of intake and assessment. In this first call, we've targeted our call for proposals towards 125 postal code zones in the province. And these are the postal code zones that have the highest numbers of people who are not currently attached to a primary care clinician. On average, in those postal code zones, there are about 8,000 people who are unattached in each postal code. And with this round, we are welcoming proposals where you commit to providing care for people living in those communities. Even if the primary care team or clinician or head office is not within that postal code itself, we want to make sure that you are committed to providing care for people in these identified communities. The third area that we'd like to point out as a special feature of this call for proposals is the big role for Ontario Health teams and their primary care networks. We want them to play a role in supporting family physicians and primary care practices to develop their proposals and to coordinate the submission of those proposals, helping everyone to work together. Ontario Health teams, as you know, bring deep local knowledge, and they also have been growing well-organized primary care networks that strengthen coordination and can be strategic in aligning teams together. This means that only proposals that are coordinated and submitted by OHTs and their PCNs will be assessed in this round of funding. The Ministry of Health is committed to advancing Indigenous primary care across Ontario. And so we do want to note as well that while collaboration will always be encouraged, OHT support for Indigenous-led proposals will not be required, and these proposals can be submitted directly for funding consideration. As the Ministry of Health receives and evaluates these proposals, we will be assessing them against three main priorities that we have. One, hopefully you've already heard loudly and clearly, is that we want you to prioritize net new and ongoing attachment to primary care. Secondly, we are looking for proposals that have a readiness to begin attaching as soon as the summer of 2025. And thirdly, that you will have the ability to deliver on the key principles that the Primary Care Action Team has identified. That being that our care will be province-wide, connected, convenient, digitally integrated, and equitable. We recognize that for some people, this targeted approach could seem daunting, but our goal remains the same. We want 100% of the people in Ontario to be connected to a regular primary care clinician, and we expect to achieve that through this and future calls for proposal until we reach all communities across Ontario over time. We know that the timelines we've announced yesterday are very ambitious, but the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health are here. They are committed to supporting you every step of the way. We cannot afford to wait any longer to give Canadians, well, Canadians, yes, but Ontarians especially, the care that they need and deserve. Together, we are going to build a primary care system that is better, more equitable, and compassionate, and we will move forward together. I want to thank every one of you for the work that you do every day to meet our collective goals. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Philpott, for sharing those insights. I think I speak for the whole Primary Care Action Team and the Ministry and Ontario Health that this is a very exciting time for primary care, and we're really excited to roll out the funding. As Dr. Philpott mentioned, both the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health are committed to supporting the primary care sector. And with that, we're going to shift to hearing some reflections from key leaders at the Ministry of Health and Ontario Health. We'll begin with Rhonda McMichael, Assistant Deputy Minister of the Strategic Partnerships Division at the Ministry of Health, which includes oversight of the implementation of Ontario Health teams. Rhonda, over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Carly. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to the role of OHTs and their primary care networks. As the lead for OHT policy and operations within the ministry, working closely with my colleague, Alison Costello, I am thrilled that OHTs and their PCNs will be playing such an important role in advancing the Primary Care Action Plan. Guidance for PCNs was introduced just over a year ago. We know that locally, PCNs or structures like them have been emerging for many years. And we know that OHTs have been making tremendous strides supporting primary care clinicians to attach people to primary care. The guidance that we released for PCNs in January 2024 built on these local successes so that over time, strong PCNs will be in place in every OHT. Funding provided by the government last year helped all OHTs to advance their PCNs and establish a PCN clinical lead. Now more funding will help OHTs to strengthen their PCNs and achieve local attachment goals. While some PCNs are earlier in their development, the funding and other supports that Sasha will speak to in a moment will help all OHTs and PCNs build their capacity and assist those that are earlier in their journey. The funding will support OHTs and PCNs to coordinate and support local primary care providers in targeted postal codes, as Dr. Philpott mentioned, to complete IPCT proposals and submit those proposals for consideration. As OHTs and PCNs work with their partners to determine which proposals are submitted, they're encouraged to leverage their collaborative decision-making agreements and associated governance structures and processes. With physicians, other clinicians, and primary care included in all OHT decision-making structures as a standard, and a PCN in place in all OHTs, we can be assured that the voices of the local primary care community are actively participating in the development and submission of proposals. OHTs are being asked to support primary care clinicians to attach people on the Healthcare Connect waitlist. Connecting those on the waitlist is an early milestone towards 100% provincial attachment identified in the Primary Care Action Plan. There's a clear linkage in place for these efforts. For example, you can see in the proposal template that proponents will be asked to commit to attaching people on the Healthcare Connect waitlist within their postal code. We can look forward to supporting enhanced connections among Ontario Health at Home Care Connectors, OHTs, and PCNs to identify local provider capacity to attach patients, and look forward to seeking the input from the sector as we plan together for implementation. Finally, to ensure a singular focus of OHT and PCN efforts on primary care attachment, we're asking that OHTs not use resources or efforts towards structural or governance changes at this time. In addition, we will not be moving forward with work on designation of OHTs under the Connecting Care Act as we together focus on making significant strides in reaching our primary care goals. With funding, data, and other supports and a clear priority, we know that OHTs and PCNs will be successful in advancing the Primary Care Action Plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. I'll now turn it over to Dr. Sasha Bhatia, Executive Vice President, Primary and Community-Based Care at Ontario Health, to share his perspective on the role that Ontario Health will play to support the primary care sector throughout this process. Over to you, Sasha.
Thanks so much, Carly. And I first want to thank Elder Kevin for the great opening, to Minister Jones and Dr. Philpott and the Ministry of Health for your transformational leadership in getting us to this point. This is a historic moment for primary care in Ontario. And as you've heard from our previous speakers, we are moving towards creating a system that enables strong collaboration between all partners to ensure that everyone living in Ontario is attached to a family doctor or a primary care nurse practitioner working in a publicly funded team where they receive ongoing, comprehensive, and convenient care, which I think is something that we all strive for. As implementation partners, Ontario Health will support the sector as you respond to this targeted call for proposals, and will work alongside the first round of up to 80 teams to operationalize this expansion and realize the vision of 300,000 patients being attached to care. We have a lot of learnings from the 2023 expression of interest. 78 new and expanded teams were funded, and we are really pleased to say that 76 of those teams are fully operational. As a result of the work that many of you have done, these new and expanded teams have provided access and attachment to over 200,000 Ontarians already. We've taken the learnings and feedback from many of you in the field and have worked together with our colleagues in the Ministry of Health to implement the first round of funding under the Primary Care Action Plan. We know that there were many high-quality proposals from the 2023 EOI that were not able to be funded. This first round of funding is an opportunity for those proponents to leverage those proposals and to tailor them to this call. When working with the proposals, it is important to pay attention to the differences from the previous EOI that were noted by Dr. Philpott, such as a focus on geographic attachment. As Rhonda previously mentioned, OHTs and PCNs provide tremendous leadership in their communities and have over the past few years. And this is an even greater opportunity for them to engage broadly and transparently with primary care partners to encourage collaboration across the sector and with partners as well as clinicians. At Ontario Health, our regional teams will be there to support and respond to questions, help facilitate connection between family doctors, clinicians, practices, and the Ontario Health teams and primary care networks where those connections may not already exist, as well as provide support to OHTs and PCNs on proposal development. Rest assured, we will be by your side supporting you as you implement and operationalize funded plans. For the successful applicants, we will be there to help you implement and operationalize these funded plans to get these teams up and running as quickly as possible so we can start serving Ontarians. Finally, I want to say thank you to the family physicians, other primary care clinicians, and partners for the work that you do every day to care for people in your communities. Ontario Health looks forward to working with you together, along with the Ministry of Health, the Primary Care Action Team, and the new and expanding teams to attach every Ontarian to high-quality primary care close to home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatia. Just to close this off, I would like to convey a sincere thank you to all of our speakers and for our audience for taking the time today as we continue our journey to build a strong primary care system that meets patients' needs. Before I pass over to Elder Deer for closing, I'd like to briefly describe key next steps. And I know Ontario Health has been in touch with many of you on some of these items. First off, interested proponents serving people living in identified postal codes are encouraged to contact their local OHT or PCN. If you don't know who your OHT or PCN is and you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to contact your Ontario Health regions, and all other questions can be reached out to on the email that's outlined on the slide here. Another important thing to note, we know we've already talked about this. We know it's a tight timeline. We know you can do it, and we want to reinforce there's additional rounds of funding, but the deadline for submissions is May 2nd, 2025, and it's anticipated that prospective interprofessional primary care teams will be notified of funding decisions in early summer 2025. And a second round of intake and assessment, as mentioned, is anticipated to launch in September 2025, so coming very soon. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Over to you, Elder Deer.
Well, I'd just like to acknowledge everyone that helped to make this announcement possible. It's great. You know, when we talk about health, we also have to ask ourselves, what's our responsibility in that? And as I said, you know, we all have to understand that we got to treat this walking clay with the utmost respect, that we don't put these contaminants in our bodies, because as sure as the sun rises and sun sets, everything that we do when we're young is coming back to visit us when we get old. So if we don't want to take care of this body, well, then we can guarantee that, you know, we're going to be looking for different types of medicine to help us to alleviate that pain, when all we have to do was just have some discipline and say, no, I'm not going to mistreat this holy walking clay. With that being said, I'll just go into my language again. You know, the word that we have for family is called wadzire. If we make a fire right now, so you see the smoke, you see the heat, you see the flame, you see the wood, you see that red hot coal. Well, that red hot coal in my language is odzire. When I talk about akwadzire, we're talking about that sacred fire that is burning within every human being. So we are all extended family when we look at it from that perspective. And that being said, when we look at why did these 215 kids from Kamloops, British Columbia, I say, spirits resurrect up from the dead? Every child matters. Well, you know what? Every child grows up to be an adult, so every adult matters. And the thing is, why are all these things happening? Global warming, climate change, all of these things now are staring us in the face. And what's happening is this veil of confusion, of fear, of all kind of stuff is being lifted up. And now a majority of people on this Turtle Island and even around the world are coming to the realization that we better start seeing a different perspective, hearing a different perspective, speaking a different perspective, and doing a different perspective. Because those future generations whose faces did not rise out of the earth yet, we have a responsibility to them that when they will be born, they will inherit a happy, safe, clean, beautiful, peaceful, loving home. And if we look at the trajectory where we're headed, it doesn't look too bright. The scientists said there is hope. And the hope is that if we embrace the indigenous wisdom of this entire planet, then hopefully we could change the trajectory that we're on so that the future generations can inherit a happy, safe, clean, beautiful, peaceful, loving home. So with that said, much love, peace, happiness, joy to each and every one of you. Whatever your gift is to fulfill in this world, may it be fulfilled. And I'll just say a few words now in my language, going back to our Thanksgiving address. Onagadi adet zenitsukan. So what the sadad when is a rada no the gari wahere ayam ski jatku as a wada garida des kana zanutunyu. Nona dasha dore to gani jared zitunet nazi yatinistan hutza yugot kan haja gwegun hod yugotsta tan yatana jodak the anagan hod garunyu a gwegu sego tunizuru di otaje. Mana na ned ni gani gajeko gwegu aska ne the wawit nuni ni gwat ni gura. So in my closing words, I just ask that we all be, blessed with good health, good mind, good thoughts, love, peace, joy, in whatever we're going to do in this time together. Now our minds are free to go about our day and do whatever it is that we intend to do to hopefully make this world a better place, a happier place, and leave it in better condition than we inherit. So with that, in Mohawk, we say Ona, and I made a little song, and it goes like this. Ho, 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 Ona giwahi, Ona giwahi, Ona giwahi, Ona giwahi. Ho, 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 Ona giwahi, Ona giwahi, Ona giwahi. So sing every day, dance every day, because this is the sacred dance called life. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.